Good morning, everybody. This is Steve, recording from our sanctuary, our empty sanctuary at 403 West Street in New Smyrna Beach. We are on location and just kind of winging it here this morning. Have a little fun talking about mantras and mudras. Mantras are generally considered to be sacred utterances or chants, songs, or even silent meditations. They aid in meditation or actually are meditations themselves. Mantras or mudras are more about hand configurations, which are very interesting, and that'll be in the second half of our little presentation this morning. So what do these things do, these mantras and these mudras? Well, they're good for calming the mind and gaining clarity, and for discovering our true selves. Om, the sound that you heard me chant a minute ago, is said to be the most basic of all mantras. It is sacred and meaning soul or universe. And all other mantras have come out of the Om sound, which is also said to be the first sound ever heard at the creation of the world. So interesting about Om to me is, and by the way, it's spelled O-M or O-U-M. Interesting to me is, if it's done right, it's done in like 3 parts, which I try to do. Ah, O, And it's interesting because what these mantras do is they create a vibration through the body. And the vibrations that come through the body move the energy around, which is called prana. You all know that. Anyway, the prana is enriched. Old prana is left out, new prana is brought in, and energy is created and moves around as such. So with the Om, the Ah part, which is like if you're in the doctor's office and you say Ah, just for fun here, you can do it here from home. Touch underneath your throat here on the chest and say ah, ah. And you can hear you can feel a vibration right there. Ah. And O, like oh, it's nice to see you. If you touch your throat, oh, you can feel that vibration or reverberation. And then like, boy, does that smell good. If you touch your hand to your cheek. So these mantras actually have physical functions in the body. And interesting on the Om sound, as the frequency goes down, the reverberation actually goes up from down here to here to here. So that's the main mantra that we know of. And then there's a whole lot more. If you've ever walked into an airport about 20 years ago, you may have heard Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what are these? Well, these are the Hindu words of homage to their most sacred of gods, which are Krishna and Rama. And the Hindus dance and sing and chant, and that's the way their spirituality keeps negative things out of their lives. They're pretty amazing. And they'll chant over and over and over and over and over and sing and dance for hours with Hare Krishna or a lot of other mantras. However, not all mantras are Eastern. One mantra called Ham Shah is actually Hebrew, and it is a story behind it because when Moses met with God, and before he was to return back to his people, he asked God, well, what name shall I tell them? What name should I tell them that I call you by? And God said, Ham Shah, which means I am that I am. And my research kind of shows that there's not a whole lot of use for that in the Hebrew world, the Jewish world anymore, but it's a lot of use of it going on with the yogis in as well. And here's a Christian mantra that is common, Maranatha. Maranatha. Let me see if I can pronounce that right. And by the way, I'm butchering these pronunciations. I apologize. But Maranatha. So, what's that mean? Well, it's from the book of Corinthians in the Bible, and it means "Come, Lord." So, a monk who might be chanting Maranatha would break it up into, Mar, Ra, Na, Tha. Mar, Ra, Na, Tha. Again, these mantras repeat, repeat, repeat. And the repeating is what creates almost like a hypnotic experience in the body where the worldly things kind of dissipate and the more spiritual and the more inward things kind of start to become more predominant. I even found a mantra from Hawaii, Ho, Opono, Opono. Ho, Opono, Opono. Ho, Opono, Opono. And that means, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I didn't mean it, I love you. Which is pretty beautiful, because we all make mistakes. And Ho, Opono, Opono is a chant to make things right. Here's a really well-known yoga mantra. It's called Sat Nam. It's really from the ancient yogic texts. And the practitioners use it a lot. And we had a Kundalini class here in New Smyrna years back. Our teacher left and went to California. But maybe some of his students are with me today. And we used to chant this chant, Sat Nam. And it goes something like this. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. this seems kind of anticlimactic in the sound of it, but it's actually an exploration inward. And what it really means is true identity, true self. Now, there's one mantra that's the granddaddy of all mantras. And that one is called, sounds Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And this is a very ancient and sacred Buddhist chant. And each word, of course, means something. Om, which we started our session with, meaning soul or universe. Om. Mani, which means bead or jewel. Padme, lotus flower. And keep in mind, when they say lotus flower, that's a sacred flower. And you often see the Buddha sitting cross-legged on top of the lotus flower platform. And then, enlightenment. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And what it means to, when you put it all together, what it translates to is, I bow to the jewel of the lotus flower in the heart. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And I heard that the least amount of times you're supposed to chant it is 108 to get the full effect of it. So I actually timed that out this morning, and it was actually a little less than 7 minutes for 108 chants. So it's not as long as you would think. So that's the granddaddy, and we have a little video here. So let's take a listen to that mantra, and then coming up after that, we'll take a look at some mudras.